Greetings and salutations, everybody at the Outer Haven. This is Karl Smart here, going to talk about something a little bit different. We're not talking video games, we're talking professional wrestling. For those of you who know, I'm a huge professional wrestling fan. I've been a part of the Australian wrestling business for over 20 years, and I recently got to sit down with Kyle Fletcher of Aussie Open and United Empire fame, who is currently having a great run in All Elite Wrestling. Also, thanks to All Elite Wrestling and their upcoming event, AEW Grand Slam Australia, which will be happening on February 15th, 2025 at Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane. Tickets are available now through Ticketek. So without further ado, get to the interview with Kyle Fletcher. Well, we're recording this after the Dynamite of September 11th, 2024. And those who watch Dynamite, as you should, through all respectable channels, ESPN in Australia, as well as Triller.tv, as if you wish to watch online, we saw yourself and the Billy Goat Will Ospreay.
Oh yeah,
win the casino tag team casino gauntlet match this week for a shot at the Young Bucks at the upcoming World's World's End? No.
Grand Slam.
Grand Slam, sorry. So a lot of names getting popped up in AEW these days with event names. In 2 weeks, not to be confused with the one that we're doing in Australia here,
of course,
on February 15th. First of all, congratulations on winning the match. It was absolutely brilliant. I loved every minute of it.
Appreciate it.
How do you feel about going up against the Young Bucks in 2 weeks?
Yeah, I feel good. I'm very excited. I think, to me, I consider the Young Bucks the greatest tag team of definitely this generation, possibly of all time. I've been watching them since I started training. I started training in Australia at 14. I've watched them through their Bullet Club phase, through moving to AEW, everything. So, yeah, I definitely respect what they've done and what they've accomplished. But I think they have their brothers. Obviously, they have that connection going on, but I consider Will Ospreay to be my brother. I know him like the back of my hand. He knows me like the back of his hand. And I think we have a pretty good chance of taking those belts off them, man. So I'm hyped. I can't wait for it. I think it's going to be a crazy clash for sure.
Yeah, they're definitely looking like a banger. The people that I watch AEW with each week, we also sit there and we've been very impressed with your rise in AEW, and seeing you back together with Will has been a great thing because you guys were in the United Empire in New Japan. So good to see you guys back together.
Agreed.
But speaking of getting back together, got to ask how Mark Davis is doing. You haven't seen him in a while, and we haven't seen Aussie Open in a while.
Yes, sir. So he's doing good. I don't want to get too much into what's going on with him. I think that's his story. I think he will tell that story when he feels fit. I don't think that's my job or my place, but he's doing good. As far as it comes to Aussie Open in the future, it's very hard to say, right? Because he's been gone for close to a year now. It was Wrestle Dream last year was the last time we saw him. And a lot has happened since then. I've been in the ring with Kenny Omega, Bryan Danielson, Will Ospreay, all these people, and I've grown and changed so much. So I think when it comes to him returning, when he does return, the landscape might be different. You know what I mean? So I think time will only tell when it comes to that.
Awesome. Speaking of like influences and your growth throughout the wrestling industry, like you've been to the UK, you've been in the USA, Japan, Australia, obviously where you were trained. You wrestled in many different countries throughout the world, and most wrestling fans will understand that a lot of countries have their own styles and ways of doing things. How do you adapt to going international and going through those different styles of wrestling and the way that the wrestling business works in different countries?
Of course. I think the biggest thing for me is I try and come in with an open mind and almost try and follow the leader, if that makes sense. So if there's people that have wrestled there for longer than me, I really try and follow their lead for the most part, whilst obviously staying true to myself. I know the wrestler that I am. I know the person that I am. But yeah, it's a lot of taking a bit more of a backseat and kind of just trying to feel the environment, right? When you get in the ring, the crowd's going to react different to certain things and all that kind of thing. So you kind of have to have your wits about you a bit more. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is trying to let the more experienced people take the role for sure.
So you're not afraid to sit on the learning tree as long as it's not
No,
Jericho's.
not Jericho's, please no.
Not Jericho's, no.
Please no.
That's understandable. A lot of us don't like that learning tree. Just to follow up with the international as well. Besides, obviously your training that you did here in Australia, which country has had the biggest influence on your wrestling style?
So I'm going to have to say Japan, and I think the reason for I can't put my finger on what that actual reason is. I just know that anytime a wrestler goes and experiences Japan, goes on a month-long tour, even a couple of tours, they come back a different wrestler. And I certainly felt that way. Maybe I put it down to the fact that there are people that have wrestled there for 20 years, you know what I mean? And you're wrestling them every night in different towns. You're on the road with them. So yeah, I can't exactly say what the reason for that is, but I just know that everyone comes back a better wrestler from Japan, and that was certainly the case with me.
Yeah, I've seen that with many guys, especially Leo Rush lately. After
Yes,
his tour
of
in
course,
Japan, he came back a very different person in AEW. So
for sure.
I could definitely understand that. I've heard quite a few people say the exact same answers. Like Japan
Yeah,
just is this life altering experience when it comes to professional wrestling.
it really is, man.
But just keeping with sort of influences on yourself. You spend a lot of time with Will Ospreay. Interesting picture with the banana, by the way, the other day.
Thank you.
What influences he had on your career
Yeah,
besides being your best mate on the road?
of course, yeah. I think he's had a lot more influence on me than even he thinks. So when I started training in Australia, I became a fan of Will. This was kind of like on his rise through the UK scene when he was challenging for the Progress Championship way back when. That was when I first heard about him, when I first started watching him. And I think that was a big reason why I fell in love with the UK scene, which obviously led to me moving there when I turned 18 and going through the independence there. And then when I got to the UK, we got to do all these different shows together. Every time he was in the ring, I made sure to watch it because I was in awe of what he could do, obviously, as a lot of people are. And then finally, when I got to get in the ring with him, I learned so much from him. And then a step further than that, when it came to 2021, he offered for me to live in his house. He offered me his spare room so we could get back out into the world of wrestling because Australia was still on crazy lockdown or whatever. And then through living with him, I started to see how he is as a person, the kind of man that he is, the way he treats people, that sort of thing. And I think that has had the biggest influence on making me want to become a better person in general. I want to treat people better. I want to act a certain way because I see him acting this way. So, yeah, I think it goes much further than just in the ring. I think he's had an influence on the man that I am today, and I could not be more grateful for that.
That's great to hear. We need more guys who are willing to take the young blokes under their wing and teach
For
them not
sure.
only how to be better wrestlers but to be better men in general.
That's it, man. For
The
sure.
business needs more nice guys. It's
Needs more Will
it's
Ospreays.
well, if we had Will Ospreys, then Dave Meltzer would die of fright because he'd be giving out 6 stars every week.
I think so.
uh, the other influence I at least on screen we would see with your character would be Don Callis.
Of course.
As being a part of the Don Callis family. While Don isn't exactly the most liked man on the planet these days,
I don't know what
he
you're
has a
talking
great
about.
mind for the business,
No idea what you're talking
dating
about.
back to Cyrus the Virus in ECW and everything.
Mm-hmm.
What have you learnt from him under your time under his tutelage?
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize how good his brain is for wrestling, and I probably didn't even realize. It's only been through working with him and being able to talk to him every week. We obviously interact all the time. Only recently, through working with him, have I realized how great of a mind he has. And I think I'd probably say the biggest thing that he's instilled on me is believing in myself. He has he has come up to me and been like, this was great when you did this. This was great when you did this. You need to do more of this, whatever. And it's caused me to be like, oh yeah, you're right. Like that was good. And it's made me pick up on things that maybe I wouldn't have otherwise. And then also him going, I think you should watch this person that maybe I wouldn't have gone back and watched before from back in his day, and being like, you should try and steal these certain things, or look at the way they do this and pick that up. And I think that would work great for you with your size, your style, whatever. So I think, yeah, just little pickups like that. And then also he's my biggest supporter, man. Like he tells me every week that he thinks I'm gonna do big things in this business, and yeah, I hope I can do him proud.
But, well, it's great to hear somebody speak well of Don Callis, considering every time he goes out, he cops a fair bit of heat.
Yeah, I think he's
To
probably
put
gonna
it
hate
lightly.
me for speaking nicely about him like that. Honestly,
Well, I won't send this directly to him, so
please don't.
he'll be
Yeah,
all
I'd appreciate that.
right. uh, feel free to kibosh this one if you don't really want to
Sure.
answer it. But just a quick question, because this is something that I've been curious about for a
Mm-hmm.
while. It has to do with couples in wrestling.
Sure.
Uh, both you and your partner are wrestlers in the business.
Yeah.
How do you keep the relationship going while being on the road, while you're both taking different bookings and stuff like that? Because you wouldn't always be together at every show type thing.
Yeah, of course. For me, it's been a really cool thing because it's almost like you have this support system through everything that you do, and more so than just a support system. My partner Sky, my partner, she understands the wrestling business. So there's these really weird things sometimes that will be running through my head, and I'll be like, oh, this is bothering me, blah blah blah. And I think if my partner wasn't in wrestling, I don't think they would understand it. They would kind of be like, what are you talking about? Like, that's nothing. It's not even an issue. Like, there's no reason to be upset about this. But because she understands it, she is able to be there for me in such a great way. And I think it's the same thing vice versa. She's currently going through an injury. So I think I'm able to be there for her in certain ways that maybe someone else wouldn't, which I think is really cool. And then when we're apart taking different bookings or whatever it is, I think, yeah, I don't think it's a strain on the relationship. I just think it makes it more important when we are together, when we're at home together, when we have a weekend together. We just appreciate it that much more, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. The reason I bring that up is I'm sure most people know about Mr. Murphy and his relationship, and it's like being two different companies. It'd
Of
be one of
course.
those things of you appreciate everything a lot more when you're together than when you're apart and everything
Yeah,
else. So, as
absolutely.
somebody else who is also in the business, and you've got a relationship with Sky and everything, I just thought I'd ask.
No, I appreciate the question. Thank you.
Because a lot of people don't understand what it's like to be on the road or anything like that when you,
Yeah,
especially with family and relationships.
of course
It's
not.
different. It's a different lifestyle
It
that
very
we're
much
used
is.
to.
Yeah.
But you were speaking of like support systems as well, so I'll sort of follow up with that with the next question here.
Mm-hmm.
With AEW has quite a few Australians on the roster. Do
Yeah.
you guys stick together and just like everybody gets the Australian snacks in and share them around and try and make sure that nobody gets homesick? And also, do you do the typical Australian thing of making our country sound more dangerous than it really is? Do you
So
spread the legend of the drop bear?
so I every time someone comes up to me and they talk about how, oh, it must be crazy out there, like spiders the size of your hand everywhere, blah blah. I actually give them a harsh taste of reality. I bring their hopes way down. I go, I've seen maybe one big spider in my entire life in Australia. I think, yeah, I tell them if you go into like the outback in these rural towns, maybe you'd find them a lot more. But I was a suburbs boy. I grew up on the northern beaches in Sydney. I didn't see too much of it. When it comes to the other Australians in AEW, I honestly, us bringing snacks to work from home is probably a great idea. I might pick you up. I might steal that. But but more so, I think it's really funny. Uh, Whenever I see another Australian backstage, my Australian comes out a lot more. My accent gets heavier. I'm dropping C words all over the shop. Like, so I think in that regard, it feels like a nice taste of home. It brings the Australian out of me.
Yeah. That's awesome. As is the point of this interview today, AEW Grand Slam Australia is happening on the 15th of February 2025. Tickets
Mm-hmm.
available now through Ticketek and all associated outlets. I actually got my
Now,
tickets. My wife bought them for my birthday yesterday, so
oh hell yeah!
I will be there in Brisbane
I'll see you
to
there.
see you there. Yeah, yeah, see me waving from that little dot in the background.
Hell yeah!
Yeah. What's the first thing you want to do or eat the second your feet hit Australian soil?
So I think the first thing, depending on the time of day that I land, I will try and get to a beach. Growing up on the northern beaches, Australian beaches still remain number one in the world in my heart for sure. So I'll try and get to a beach. The last time I went back home, I didn't eat a meat pie, and I've kind of been craving one of
Oh,
those. So maybe like a little traveler's pie or something. Maybe I'll go straight to a servo and grab one of those. Um, Otherwise, I would love to be able to go to my parents' house and pet my dog Bodhi. That's the other one I would love to do.
yeah, I was going to ask that. Are you looking to try and take a side trip home while you're down here and go see
Yeah,
the family? And
I,
what do they think of your chosen career?
yeah, I have to. I can't go all that way. Not go and see my family. I think that's a given. So I'm not sure. I think now, after seeing everything, they obviously think it's the best thing in the world. They're happy for me, whatever. Um, Early on, I have to say that I'm sure my mum thought I was a bit insane when I was 14 years old saying I wanted to take two buses and a train to Campbelltown on a Saturday morning to go and train pro wrestling in someone's shed. But I think looking back at it now, if it wasn't for her letting me do that, I wouldn't be in the position I am now. So I'm forever grateful for how she handled it, how she let me go and do those things. I know it mustn't have been easy for her, especially when I was 18 years old and said I wanted to move to the UK. Like when I told her that, she laughed in my face. She thought it was ridiculous, and then I went, "No, I'm serious." And then she had to deal with that, obviously. So I put them through a lot. But I'm grateful to be in the position I am now because now I'm able to start giving back and thank them for everything that they've done for me. So that will be another thing that I'm able to do when I go home in February. I'll be able to get them hopefully a nice box for the show, watch them go up, and yeah, you know what I mean. So I think that's the best part of all of it.
Spoil your parents properly
Have to,
when you're out
have
here.
to
Definitely
for sure.
give back to the parents. It's no mother loves seeing her kid in the ring.
Nope.
I know my time when I was in the ring, my mother was just like looking away, going, "No, I don't want to see my baby being hit in the head with a clothesline and stuff like that."
Yeah.
So I can see exactly where your mother's coming
Oh,
from.
she's the same.
But yeah, that's pretty much the end of the questions I've got for you, Kyle. But thank you
Awesome.
very much for your time.
No, I
We've done a
appreciate
good
you, man.
20 minutes, and I look forward to seeing you hopefully with the tag team belt on your shoulder in February.
Let's go. I'll bring them home for you.
Damn right, mate. Thank you so
Hell yeah.
much for your time.
Appreciate you, brother. Take care.
And once again, thank you to Kyle Fletcher for sitting down with me and having a bit of a chat about wrestling, just about anything else that happened to come up during that conversation. Also, thank you to All Elite Wrestling for reaching out to us here at the Outer Haven, where you can come and find all your, well, I guess, video games, pop culture, and now professional wrestling needs over at www.theouterhaven.net. For those of you who are interested in AEW Grand Slam Australia, it will be on during February 15th, 2025 to be exact, at Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane, Australia. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketek, so please head on there, buy as many tickets. We want this thing to be a sellout, and who knows? We'll hear more from AEW in the